I'm Melissa Hubin, and I am one of the instructors for the New Designs and Fundraising course through HSU Extended Education. I'm here with Elysia Frink from Humboldt Area Foundation, the resident expert on research of foundations and donors. How are you, Elysia?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So what is the importance of your local community foundation as far as research and finding funding for local nonprofits?
There's a twofold importance. The first is that we have knowledge and expertise ourselves in terms of grant seeking and grant writing that we can offer people and point people in directions that, especially for people who are new to the process, that need a little more guidance. And then the other is that we have access to the Foundation Center's Foundation Directory online, which is a searchable grant database that will give you results that are much more specific and greater volume than you would get on Google search terms.
Okay, and I know, being in the area of nonprofits, we're all guilty of going on Google and searching and researching funding options.
Mm-hmm.
But you are very correct; it's limited. And so, could you just further expand on the importance and really what people get when they come here or go on the Foundation Directory and what they can expect to find as far as results?
Well, the thing that's really wonderful about being able to search for grant makers on here is that you can narrow them by your own criteria. You can not only find grant makers in the right location and funding in your area, you are able to narrow your search by the type of support you're looking for. For example, one of the difficult ones is general and operating funds, and you can simply narrow your search and not have to ever deal with irrelevant results. Okay. So when you're looking on Google, you have to find that information individually on each thing that comes up. Mm-hmm. You can't just do a simple Google search for the type of funding you want, your mission, and making sure that person's accepting applications. Mm-hmm. So this does a lot of that filtering for you and makes it much, much easier.
Okay. How many people from our community, our small rural community, do you think come in on a monthly basis to use the Foundation Directory?
I would estimate around 25 to 30.
Okay, that's pretty significant.
Yeah, and the people who come in tend to spend a long time searching for the results. It's something where people go in greater depth with it. Mm-hmm. Because they are usually, people come in, they tend to talk to me first and get my advice on how to use the database. I find that when people come in and have a specific project or organization that they want to fund, it helps narrow their search into something that's very useful, particularly with being able to find the keywords and search terms that they use, and translating their project into the language of the world of grant makers. Mm-hmm. Is a very complicated process, and so the more specific of a project that people know they need to fund, the easier it is to teach people how to translate it. And that's one of the other beauties, like I said, that it's not just a matter of having access to the database, but having access to people who know how to use it. Mm-hmm. And how to introduce people to grant seeking.
And so, from your opinion, sometimes it's better to really narrow your focus as far as grant seekers. Is it better to do that in this case with the Foundation Directory, or is it better to have kind of a wider scope when you go into search?
It depends on the individual project. I've seen some very, very specific projects where if you try to have a narrow search, you're going to end up with one or two results out of the entire country's worth of foundations. And when that happens, you broaden it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people have very common projects that they're doing, such as funding for holiday programs, whether it's food programs or Toys for Children programs. There are so many people who fund that and so many programs. Mm-hmm. That in those types of cases, you would want to narrow it as much as possible to get the most relevant results.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And, you can get the Foundation Directory online, a free version. What is your suggestion for coming into an actual foundation office, such as Humboldt Area Foundation, or going to a university? Why should people come to places such as yours to get on the Foundation Directory?
So one of the things that being a partner with the Foundation Directory Online offers is that we have access to about 10,000 different, 100,000 different foundations, which is 10 times what the public has in their free version. So you will be able to access information that is much greater, and there are a number of foundations, especially smaller family foundations, that don't have big websites, that don't have the media outreach, that a lot of the larger, more obvious ones already have. Usually when people come in here, they already know about the larger, bigger organizations, and those organizations weren't able to fund them, so they're looking for more specific research in the first place. So it's very helpful to find results you wouldn't ordinarily find. And the other is that when people get stuck, it's often helpful to have somebody who is an expert at the database help them search it.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. So we have a few moments. Would you like to demonstrate going on to the directory?
Absolutely. Almost. So there are partners with the Foundation Directory Online all over the place, and you can go to foundationcenter.org to find a partner. Usually they are foundations such as Humboldt Area Foundation. They are also libraries, both public and academic, and other sort of community centers, often in more rural areas, so that people have access to these. So it's pretty easy to just search and find out. So this is the home page that it looks like when you log in at a funding information partner. And I find the easiest place to go is to search grant makers. There are a number of really wonderful ways to narrow your search, and the first thing I always do is to exclude grant makers not accepting applications, because you want to find somebody who is actually funding. And there are several things that you definitely want to focus on. For example, geographic focus is where you are located, where they are funding. So you always want to pick where they're funding as opposed to where they're located, because that doesn't always match up. And the other type is, as I talked about earlier, types of support. For example, general and operating support. And then the most important thing here, and why I talked about having people have a very specific project and pulling out of that keywords, is trying to find how they are classified as keywords in the fields of interest for the grant makers, which is a more complicated process, and you are able to pick a number of different ones based on, for example, we may choose adults, women, and we may see if there's anything under seniors, and if we are trying to help senior women specifically with our project. So it's a matter of translating the project into the words that the foundations themselves would be using.
Wonderful. I think that this is an often overlooked tool for those of us who are finding support for nonprofits, and I think it's really great to introduce people to this, the Foundation Directory. In addition to the Foundation Directory Online, your local foundations, universities, and libraries, they do have good resources for an actual print library, such as here at the Foundation. They have a wonderful library, and you can always come in and use their reference materials.
Absolutely. We have a huge section on grant seeking as well as grant writing, and our nonprofit association also offers courses on both of those subjects, which can be very helpful for people who are starting out, especially to learn terminology and the processes of people who are grant makers.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Elysia, for your time. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for coming in.